What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Tyler, and we are here for our Star Wars Community Series, the series that airs every single Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where Tyler and I talk about Star Wars-related topics leading up to the release of Star Wars The Last Jedi. This is a very kind of reflective video series where we want to hear from you guys. If you have any suggestions on any topics or anything you want us to talk about in our videos, which you already have done, please leave it in the comments below. We will get to as many as we possibly can and make videos about it. So we want to stick to a lot of Episode 8 stuff. We want to have some theories and discussion about what we're thinking leading up to The Last Jedi coming out. So last week we talked about the Knights of Ren and who they really are. So go check that video out as well. And again, this is going to come out every single Thursday leading up to the release. So in this video, we're going to be talking about if Rey will turn to the dark side in Star Wars Episode 8. So, we've actually kind of dabbled upon this before, Tyler, a little bit in different videos and just you and me talking. And you've had like a solid premise of what it would, what would happen for quite some time. So we're going to talk about that. Leave your opinion in the comments below, what you think before you hear even what we have to say. And so let's just jump into it. So Tyler, will Rey become... Hey, will she be turned to the dark side?
I think it's possible. I think it's actually highly possible, and the main reason I think that is out of like our small group of friends, at least after The Force Awakens, was the only one to say, I'm pretty sure she was, I know she was young, but I'm pretty sure she was leaning towards the dark side of the Force when she was young. And that makes sense, honestly, when you think of, how she was kind of hidden away and blah, 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 and she's very powerful. It would be bad if she was that powerful and also on the dark side, because the light would never be able to, they would never be able to overcome that and Supreme Leader Snoke and all of that. So it makes sense that Luke would have her hidden away if she was, heading toward, she was young, but it's possible. And one of the things that I always kind of reference to that is she can do too much with the Force. The Jedi mind tricks. There's too many things she can do, and she's like really good using the Jedi mind trick, where she's able to get Kylo Ren out of her head and almost like get into his. Because I forgot the statement that she makes, but she makes a statement like, you're afraid or something. So she got into his head. Now Kylo Ren's much older, like 10 years older, trained by Snoke in the ways of the dark side. So he's pretty powerful. Not as powerful as Luke, obviously. Kylo Ren's pretty powerful. Rey had, what they're telling us, no training. I don't believe that. But Rey had no training that she remembers. For her to be able to get inside of Kylo's head, she's very powerful. And usually, powerful Force users tend to end up on the dark side. And, you might say, well, that's not true, because, just because Anakin did, you look at Yoda and he didn't. It's true, Yoda didn't go to the dark side. He was very good. But, who kind of did for a second or two? Luke Skywalker in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. When he's fighting Vader, he's angry. You can see it on his face when Vader basically says, I couldn't get you, so now I'm going to get Leia. You can see that makes Luke mad. I even think he goes like, ah, or like, ah, or something like that. And you can see, he's mad. He's trying to strike down Vader like hard, like he's hitting him hard. And then he's like, no, I will never turn to the dark side. But for a split second, he gave in to the anger. So, having said that, because Rey, she does seem to, I don't want to say she gets emotional, because we didn't really see that. But when in Episode 7, how she gets all those visions and all that, that makes her a little bit emotional, where she doesn't want to accept her destiny from Maz Kanata and take the lightsaber and all that stuff. So she is kind of an emotional person in a way, which, if she is being trained by Luke, which we know that she is, in The Last Jedi, who I'm talking about right now, who's no longer a Jedi, because he's not, he doesn't believe in the Jedi ways anymore, that's assumption, but for him to say, all I know is one thing, the Jedi must come to an end. Luke's pretty much a gray Jedi. I don't know if that's the terminology they're going to use in the the cinematic universe, but for the most part, Luke is not a Jedi. So for Rey to have emotion and be trained in the ways of the Force by someone who knows how to use the Force, who no longer believes in the Jedi way, which is to you can't give into emotion, you must eliminate emotion and all that stuff. That kind of, in my opinion, sets up the stage for somebody who is very powerful, naturally, who is very powerful, who now knows how to use the Force much better. She's way more trained, but she can use emotion. Now, what does that mean? That does mean that and I don't think she will be taught not to use emotion. So what does that mean? What that means is, if something bad happens, let's say towards the end of the movie, and she is fighting or whatever, and in the teaser trailer, now we're going to see, or we'll have the analysis up of what happened in the second trailer, but in the first trailer, when she's running at night, she doesn't look like she has a blank face. She looks like she's a little bit upset, doesn't she? What does that say? She uses emotion. So if something bad happens, let's say Luke gets struck down, or just something, or he's badly wounded and she gets really mad, and she's highly trained with the Force, that could open her up to letting, to her starting down. Because the thing is, it isn't like it's a level up. Like, once you give into the dark side, it's not like you change and your eyes turn yellow and you're, it doesn't work that way. It's a spiritual path, pretty much. But once she kind of heads down that way, and it makes her a little bit more powerful, or it'll seem more powerful, she might not come out of it that easily. She might continue to go down that path, maybe because it worked, and she was able to stop whoever. That I can't predict. But all I'm saying is the stages definitely are set where she already uses emotion, she has emotion, she's being taught by somebody who no longer teaches don't use emotion when you're a Jedi, because I don't think she's going to become a Jedi. And we already know Luke Skywalker, it was said by the director that the Last Jedi is Luke. He didn't realize when they titled it, he's like, I didn't think it was going to be controversy because I wrote it, or it was written, I should say, it was written in The Force Awakens opening crawl. Luke Skywalker, the Last Jedi. So people are like, oh, it's Rey, oh, it's Snoke. No, it's Luke. Oh, it's plural. No, the director's like, no, I didn't know it was going to cause confusion. It's Luke. So what does that say? Rey's not a Jedi, which means she can use emotion. But because of that means Jedi, you look at Ahsoka on Star Wars Rebels, she still has the Force. She still uses the lightsaber. She's not a Jedi. She's not a Sith. She's a nothing. She uses emotion when she fights. She's very powerful. Rey can do the same thing, but the thing is, though, when you do use emotion, by definition, that does make you kind of, if you were to look at the light or dark scale, that kind of puts you on the dark side. Not fully, but puts you down that path, possibly. Having said that, does that mean it's possible that Rey will end up on the dark side? Yeah, it is. And I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. It makes sense to have some kind of struggle. Where Anakin, there wasn't a struggle. He just hated sand, and that's all there was. You couldn't be like, yeah, but beaches are beautiful, Anakin. Nope, he just wasn't having it. Grew up on a sand planet. Somehow he hated sand because of it. I don't know why. Had to do with his mother's death. Confused where it connects. Nonetheless, sand turned Anakin to the dark side.
I think at the very least, like you said, there's going to be a struggle. I think that would make it way more interesting. I think you'd be way more invested than just kind of these cookie cutters, like this guy is good, this guy is evil. And George Lucas has said, Star Wars really from the ground up when he created it really is this good versus evil kind of straightforward kind of tale. But you're right in that when you first get introduced to Star Wars in Episode 4, right, the first one we ever saw, it was very clear, like good guy, bad guy. Obi-Wan, very good. Darth Vader, very evil. But then as it went on, it got more like deep and interesting, where maybe there's more. Maybe Vader could be good, right? Maybe you can get him there. Maybe Luke could actually turn to the dark side. Obviously, there is the want by the villains to make him evil. And I think, like you said with Anakin, I think one of the hugest problems with that prequel trilogy is that he kind of just like went there. Like he snapped, right, with the Mace Windu thing. It was a really quick thing. And I think they did it right with Vader and Luke, but they did it wrong with Anakin. So I think now, having a new trilogy, having a fresh start with Rey, I think at the very least, and it doesn't even have to do if there's a Skywalker connection. I think just from your main character Force user thing, I think it would be wise to introduce a struggle where she's not really sure where she fits in like the good guy, bad guy. Maybe she's in the middle, because really they've done that before and they've had success and failure. So I think at the very least you can expect her to, and because it's Episode 8 and it's kind of like the evil one, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they left it off where she's more bad, dark side than good. And then maybe she gets brought back.
And I have a few theories on how that can happen, but what I will say, based on kind of what you just said, and the scene that I mentioned where you see her running, now, due to leaks and stuff, and if you don't know this, I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably heard of some of the leaks that, how she fights a big sea monster during one of her training. Supposedly that sea monster isn't a physical sea monster. Supposedly, it's actually this inner darkness that is in herself. And what ends up when she realizes that, what ends up happening is the sea monster ends up turning into Anakin Skywalker, his spirit, because she is the reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker. That's supposedly what the leak says. But the funny thing is, I actually started to think she might not be Luke's daughter. She might be Anakin Skywalker's reincarnation because of different aspects. She's a really good pilot, just different stuff. But then I have other aspects to believe that she is the daughter of either Ezra from Rebels or Luke. So it could be either one. But the reason I'm saying that is that scene where she's running at night, that might be where she realizes who she is and gets some truth. And again, but worse than the first time, is literally trying to run away from her destiny. Maybe she learns, like, you are my reincarnation, Anakin Skywalker. I became Darth Vader, and I'm pretty much the reason that the galactic, the galaxy basically fell to darkness. And you're the new me, and that would be like, well, pretty much that means that my past life killed a bunch of people, made it so Han Solo's dead, who you could tell made a connection with Rey. So the world that she's in, everything that's happened is actually because of Anakin Skywalker. Was he manipulated? Yes, by the sand. But for her to hear that would make me like be super pissed off to learn the truth. Like, because then that type of stuff, like, if they go that route with the reincarnation, it's like, well, am I even me? You know what I mean? Like, or am I Anakin Skywalker, just in his new body?
And we don't know like what Luke has told her to this point. Like maybe he lies to her at some.
Same thing. Like maybe exactly. I was gonna say it too. Luke might have told her something else, and then all of a sudden it's like, I can't trust anybody, and this and that. That's totally possible. And the funny thing about that is I actually think, my theory, this is not my theory, when she was young, this is, again, me. No leaks have said this. I came up with this this was like right after Force Awakens. So Rey, younger than Ben, much more powerful, I'm just reading what I have written down, made Ben want to become more powerful, because Ben craved power, justified in the movies, clearly, with his lashing out and all that stuff. So Snoke wanted, basically, a new Anakin Skywalker, or a new because Snoke clearly does things from behind the scenes. So he needs a pawn to be, which right now is Ben Solo, a pawn to be in the front to kind of do the stuff for him. But what I think was he saw potential in Rey because she's clearly more powerful, and kind of was, maybe he wasn't as scarred, but was kind of being somebody again behind the scenes, maybe like behind these bushes or whatever, like, oh, don't come too close, but like giving her nice things and kind of becomes friends with her. It's like, well, I can tell you, or I can teach you this, I can do this. So kind of like seducing her to the dark side. And what might have ended up happening is Luke might have started to like catch on, because maybe Snoke was teaching her stuff. Maybe she would go to this place. Like, I'm just picturing her like playing with these like alien little butterflies or something. And it's like, but there's somebody behind the trees telling her stuff, teaching her stuff, and then she starts doing this weird force stuff that she shouldn't know how to do. Maybe Luke starts to notice that, keeps her a little bit closer. So then Snoke's like, this Luke Skywalker might be a problem. I'm going to have to move on to the next. Not exactly my first pick, but he's a lot more gullible, and he'll be easier for me to manipulate. Then he goes after Ben. So that makes sense. And I forgot how I was going to connect it to the whole running thing. Oh, so here's what might have happened also that caused, if Luke erased her memory, which I'm pretty sure he did, here's what might have happened. Rey, because she's so strong, if she was born from somebody, not just created like I know Anakin Skywalker was born, but it was like a virgin birth because he was created. When I said if Rey was born by, I meant like by two parents, not just one woman. So what might have happened is, because we don't know who Rey's mother is, we might find out in 8, I don't know. It's possible, though, because Rey's so strong, this is my theory again, Rey, when she was a baby, she might have sucked basically the Force, because the Force exists in all things, just some people have more, the midichlorians and all that weird shit. And so Rey has a lot of that. So Rey, when she was a baby, she might have literally sucked the life force from her mother. When she was born, it pretty much killed the mother. Similar in a way, even though it was different with Padme, she just kind of lost the will to live, even though she's like, they're still good on him, so that's weird. She must have had sand in her. Never mind. But, so what might have happened, though, as is a little girl, maybe, Snoke, and it could have all been like a planned thing, where he already kind of seduced Ben, but was still trying to get Rey, and it was pretty much a thing where it's like, it's going to go down tonight. But Snoke is like, do you want to know what happened to your mother? And he says, then he gives her the truth. Might be a different truth than what Luke told her. This might have caused her to become very emotional, and her powers might have become uncontrollable, so the only thing Luke can do was pretty much like knock her out and wipe her memory, while also having to deal with Kylo Ren and all of a sudden, his other possible students that become the Knights of Ren, destroying his Jedi temple and killing his other students. That's my theory, or I have a bunch, but that's my one theory that connects to that, where it's almost like she's being told the truth for a second time, but the first time she doesn't remember, so now she's reacting again just very emotionally. This time, though, Luke can't wipe away her memory, so I don't know how the relationship between Rey and Luke would end up. Probably not that good by the end of the movie. It might get fixed by the end of the movie, but who knows. So now, and I've said it before, but I'll say it here again, just in case it was missed. What may end up happening is, so if that is the spirit of Anakin, maybe she doesn't get all the truth on like how she, Rey, came to be from Anakin, just other stuff, like inner stuff and inner conflicts and all that kind of stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is I think this movie is going to be a lot of Rey discovering who she really is, and it's going to be hard for her to accept it, which is going to make her emotional, which might put her towards the path of the dark side. It's going to be interesting to see who she decides to end up being. But what might happen towards the end, because I have a feeling that we're going to get a Rey versus Kylo Ren and a Luke confronting Snoke. Not a fight, but a confrontation. Could even be the hologram again. Might not even be with physical Snoke. But what I think may end up happening is that either Snoke or maybe Kylo is told by Snoke, who then tells Rey the truth, the other half of the truth. That is going to upset Rey again, because it's like, now how can I, again, like I just kind of rebuilt the bond with Luke, like I forgave him, but now there's even more that he kept from me. But it's like, I know he was probably doing it for a good reason, and you know how that goes in everyday life. When you keep something from somebody, and then it's like you're upset, but then you kind of get it, but you're still upset. But then what might happen, though, is Luke may be, and this is all my theory, Luke may be about to strike down Ben, because he's not going to let him get away again. He can't. And he knows now he's fully on the dark side, and he has to stop him. So, but what might happen is Rey kind of, realizes like, well, maybe, Luke isn't the hero that she thinks he is, or she was told he is, because he's not acting like the Luke that she was taught about. He's not a Jedi. He doesn't believe in their ways. He's about to kill his nephew. He lied to me. All these different things. And then if Luke's about to strike down Kylo Ren, it's possible that Rey, in that moment, ends up stabbing Luke. I don't know it. I'm just saying that's my theory. It's possible. That doesn't mean she's on the dark side. That just means that, again, the emotions got a hold of her and she gave in. And that's highly possible that kind of thing happens. That doesn't mean that it doesn't kill. It might not kill him. It might not kill Luke. It could severely hurt Luke. But that is highly possible, where it's going to be like finding out all these things all at once, and she just can't handle it. And again, because she's so powerful and stuff, it would make it. I can assume that, if you were that powerful, you had all this power, and then you had all these emotions, and you're learning all these things about yourself, that it was almost better when you knew nothing about who you were, and you're trying to process all this stuff at once. You just lash out, but then you do something that you didn't really mean to do, and that's relatable, where it becomes less like a sci-fi movie and more where you can relate, which Star Wars, at least in the newer movies, has done better with relating. The original trilogy, you could a little bit. The prequel trilogy, I'm not really into sand, but I never hated sand that much, so I don't really get that. The only thing I actually related with those movies was Obi-Wan not liking to fly. That I get. I don't like to fly either. Other than that, though, I didn't relate. But all this stuff, though, that does make sense to me. So, if you got this far in the video, will Rey go to the dark side? It's honestly highly possible. It's highly possible. And I almost hope that they do. Because if they don't, that's too predictable. Because when you look at the poster, the retro poster, you got Luke's face in red, Kylo's face in red, and then Rey's like, she's the light. But it's like, well, what happens if you just change the coloring, and it's like, well, what if, like, they're all red? Or what if Luke's actually blue, and it's a trick? And what if it becomes Rey and Kylo are the red? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Because they're putting it right in our face. So why are you you're not gonna spoil the movie a year before it's out, or however many months before it's out. So there's gonna be some stuff. There's gonna be some stuff that happens, and there's gonna be struggles. That's what Star Wars is, like you said. Struggle between light and dark. It's just a matter of, what they do with it, where she ends up with it, and pretty much, are they going to pull their punch? The writers and the directors.
You can argue, are they going to do that just in general? And we can talk about that in the future as well. So let us know what you guys think of this theory. Will Rey turn to the dark side? Will she not? What are you guys thinking about The Last Jedi? Let us know in the comments below. Again, a new Star Wars themed video goes up every single Thursday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. So you can check us out every single Thursday for that. Let us know what you guys think about these topics. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now, like and share the video, and we will see you guys for our next Thursday's video.